back, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. You were the first person who was here in this podcast, and I told you would be back.
Yeah, it's been an interesting spring and summer. It's been busy.
I'm sure it has.
For you too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you in today, because I keep getting these phone calls. People are scrolling down their phones and looking at. I did this myself. Scrolling down and like Landing Tree or like something of that nature, and rates are in the twos. Can you give us something on this? Can you summarize it? This is not going to be that whole podcast thing. This is the specific reason why I wanted to bring you in, just so you can explain to us what's going on.
Rates have been low for actually starting in the winter. And when we first, unfortunately, ran into this virus, we all took a step back and realized that the economy was going to take some hits. A lot of people have lost their jobs. We had to shut down in the Northeast for a while.
Right.
And that really made things difficult for the markets to consider that they should raise rates. It was silly to think that with people out of work and people, the demand getting low when we first shut down, that rates should do anything but stay down where they've been. And they stayed that way. And when the market opened up a little bit in the spring, rates stayed down because, again, so many people had lost their jobs. But there was a huge pent-up demand in this area, and in a lot of parts of the United States as well, obviously, where folks decided to leave the city. I've had a lot of people leaving the boroughs, coming from urban areas, and deciding that Connecticut is the place to call home. So rates didn't move really at all during the summer. It started moving a little bit upwards, but from historical lows, rates, as you stated, are still down in the sub-3 area.
Yeah.
If we find anything that could push rates up in the very near future, it's going to be purely dependent upon people going back to work, the virus getting under control, vaccine taking over, and calming everybody, people going back to church, people going back to baseball games, people going back to restaurants. I don't foresee that happening anytime soon, but it might by the end of the first quarter or into the spring. So we have to be careful with clients who are interested in getting pre-qualified or buying to not sit on their hands through this season, the winter, because you could very well find yourself not prepared when the market does shift. I mean, I sure hope they get this pandemic under control, but I think the first quarter should still be pretty strong and rates should still be pretty low. But in the long run, we all know rates generally don't stay down forever.
Right. Yeah. I was reading an article the other day, and from 1960 up until just like 2 years ago, they took average rate, and it was like in between like 8 and 9. So us being in it, like I've been in the business for a little while now. Even before being a realtor, I was already investing in real estate. I've never seen anything like this. Back in 2012, I purchased a house, and for a first-time home buyer, I got a rate for 3 3.75. And I thought that was like really, really good.
Under 4 was always considered a great rate.
Exactly. And if you think about like people, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, "Look, I purchased a home, and like I think it was like in late 80s, early 90s, and their interest rate back then was like 13%. And he was like, that's what we had back then. And
don't know any different. That's what you have to accept.
Exactly, yeah. And for the rates to be at where they are now, but then again, there's always like that. Everyone has that one cousin or or the brother-in-law that all of a sudden is a expert in real estate and rates and all of that, and they're like, oh, don't buy now because real estate is high now. It's hitting its peak. Looking back like the early 2000s, and I want you to elaborate on that a little bit, because yes, real estate is high. However, we're in a much solid market than we were back then, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've been doing this for 30 years. If you could breathe back then and walk into a bank, you get financed, and we both know how hard it is to get financed. The banks are really on top of their game now. They want to know everything, like where you were last night.
Well, we're finding that we're better prepared now as an industry in 2020 for a downturn such as what the country's going through. In 2006, when the mortgage industry did actually have some very tough times, economically speaking, we weren't that strong as a country. We're better off now, not to make this political, but we're better off now. And despite the fact that we've got 20 million people unemployed because of this pandemic, houses are selling, applications are up on refinances, and I do think that you're going to find that the values that are out here right now are probably going to sustain. They're probably going to stick around for a while. Will there be cyclical changes where there becomes more property on the market? If that ever happens, we have not had a lot of inventory in a long time.
Right.
If we get a lot of inventory and there's more houses than we know what to do with, then supply and demand will mean people are not going to get what they are getting now, which is either at asking price or over, right? What will happen is there's got to be a huge influx of inventory and too many houses as compared to not enough people looking for those houses, I think, for values to come down. I think we're going to be fine. I think it's going to take a long time to recover in terms of economically speaking. There's a lot of people that lost jobs and a lot of people who have run up a lot of debt trying to survive.
Right.
So I think values should be okay, because I think there's still a lot of urgency to get into Connecticut and get into this market.
Yeah, and that was my train of thought there, because look, we know that real estate, it has its lows, and it comes back down, it goes back up. But in terms of rates, like when will we ever see, if we will, rates like in the twos again? So if someone were to buy today, what's your advice? Buy today because of the rates, or wait until if the prices come down, doesn't that mean like the rates are going to go back up? So what?
Historically, if there's going to be an economic recovery, and a lot of people are praying for that and hoping for that. If there's an economic recovery and a lot of people go back to work and there's a demand for housing, the markets react favorably and they will raise rates. They have no right, no business raising rates when 20 million people are out of work and there's a pandemic raging. They can't. It's insanity. You can't raise rates. People can barely make ends meet in certain markets. You can't raise rates. The refinance world that we have lived in this year has saved people millions and millions of dollars, homeowners across the country. It's been great for that. If the economy heats up and values stagnate, because that's the way it typically goes, you will see rates rise. I can't see them coming up quickly, Danny. I just can't. I just think we've got a long road to recover. We've run up an enormous amount of debt as a country. These bills, these stimulus, somebody's got to pay for this.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately, they're going to raise rates, but we've got to recover, I think, as a nation and an economy. And I think we are months away from doing that. In my opinion. So I think values are okay. I don't think rates are going to climb, but if you're interested, again, my sales pitch has always been get pre-qualified. Do yourself a favor and know where you stand today, so that when the house that you want comes on the market January 15th, because they wanted to take it off the market for the holidays, you'll be ready. And then if you can close within 45 days, 30 to 45 days before rates move up, if you waited until March or April, you don't know.
Yeah. You know, I made a video the other day that we're gonna put out pretty soon, and that's what I'm talking about. Talk about if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy now, this is a good opportunity to take advantage of almost free money that the banks are giving. And if you're a seller, because of the lack of inventory and the demand being so high, get top dollar for it's kind of
They are bidding and outbidding each other. You know that
as
well as anybody.
Absolutely.
I tell clients, be prepared to bring your checkbook when you go out and look at a property. You might be writing your deposit check on the hood of your car.
Yeah.
And that's happened more than once.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So thank you again
My pleasure.
for the knowledge that you always bring to the table. You know, I was like getting all these calls, and people are like, "Look, the rates are in the twos, and they're low, and what should I do?" I was like, you know, just me just answering those questions to the people that I know, friends, and you know, my circle. It'll be unfair not to, you know, put this knowledge out there to everyone that's watching. You know, the people who's been following us. And not only people who wants to either like sell or buy, like you just said, the refinancing, like people can save like hundreds of dollars by refinancing it, like
thousands of dollars, multiple years on your mortgage. It's a good time. We just can't guarantee how long things are going to stay down.
Yeah.
And we think we're going to be okay for the first quarter, but if the vaccine kicks in and people get healthy, I think you're going to see things change a little bit.
Don Principe with the Equity Resources. Once again, we're going to leave your information here. Don is one of the mortgage agents that we work with here. The guys is nothing but like, you know, everyone that actually works with you, they call us back and like, thank you so much for referring us to Don.
Well, thank you for introducing me to these folks. So whenever you need me, just give me a holler.
You got it. Thanks again, my brother.
Take care.
Yeah.